Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? I don't see any hands in the room.
No?
Okay.
I think we're good.
Okay, good. Did we answer all your questions for this evening to go back and make the adjustments for the different options and alternatives?
So we've gone through my questions. We're going to decrease the land area per our discussions. We've discussed what areas your priorities are to remove. We found that you're comfortable with the policy standards and keeping as closely to your existing standards as possible. You very much want to pursue an economic analysis for affordable housing. You're comfortable exploring a combo of base zoning and overlay, and I'll look at those options for you. And we are removing the C1 on highway. So yes, I've answered all my questions, and I have the direction I need to do another go at this.
Okay,
Great.
great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Appreciate it.
Did you want to shift back to the reorg
Yep, we could do that, or we could do the master.
or whatever?
Let's do the master.
Just do the master plan and do it
Yeah.
after. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so our next agenda item is the Master Plan Steering Committee meeting, number 3, the forum review and fall.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
Welcome back.
Evening.
Thank you. So Josh Fiala and Andrew Harris-Long from MAPC. Good to see you all again.
You as well?
We do have a presentation. If I'm able to share my screen, I'll bring it up.
We also have Gloria on Zoom as well.
Yes. Oh, sorry, and Gloria.
Thank you.
Team
Very
member.
well.
Should be good, Josh.
Thank you very much. And fantastic discussion on 3A, and we'll see how those decisions can integrate with the long-term planning for the town. All right, so our agenda for this evening is pretty straightforward. We're going to take a look at the review and debrief from the Visioning Forum, which we had a couple weeks ago now, and talk about some next steps in terms of the survey and some workshops, follow-up workshops, which are on the horizon now, and how to get the word out about those. So that's the approach for tonight. We will spare you all a icebreaker, which you've suffered through with us the last 2 committee meetings, but I did want to point out that we do have a master plan ambassador on the line, on the zip, or on the zip line, on the Zoom.
Very different meeting.
Yes. So Colby Filippelli is a resident who has joined us as a master plan ambassador, so welcome, Colby.
Thank you.
I don't know, Colby, I'll give you the floor if you want to give us a brief introduction.
Thanks for having me, everyone. Colby Filippelli. I've been here for about 3 years now and really love the town. And, I come from a facilities background and was very interested in, helping out wherever I can.
Great, thank you, Colby. Thanks for joining us and joining the team as well. So, and then I think, do you all want to do a round of introductions, or everyone good?
I think we're good.
Okay. And we've got, I'll just name, you can see the names on the screen in terms of the committee members who are present. We have, of course, the board members who are present. We also have in the audience Jen Pator. We have Gary Sullivan on the virtual, and Colby is our ambassador present today. So we have a few members and ambassadors. And Kevin is on the virtual as well. So thank you, committee members, for your persistence with us. Our team, of course, you getting to know well at this point. But let's start off with our forum debrief, which Andrew is going to lead us through.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. It's nice to see you. Sorry I missed last meeting, but I'm back from vacation. So we wanted to spend a little time kind of going over the forum. We appreciate those of you who can make it, but we wanted to kind of share what we did at the forum, who attended and then dive into some of the feedback that we heard, because we had about 35 folks and we got a lot of really solid feedback to go into the drafting of the vision statement. So here are some pictures. We were at the Freeman Kennedy Elementary School. It was a really great space for our meeting, actually. We filled the room. We had a good attendance, a lot of folks, from town, a lot of folks from the steering committee. It was really a great night, and the tables worked out nicely because we had a lot of small group discussions, and so we were able to kind of have a more intimate setting, even though the room was pretty big, to have some good discussions. So we started off the meeting with a Qualtrics survey that folks could fill out to let us know kind of who was in the room and give us a sense for who we're engaging with. This is something that we'll try to do throughout the process to make sure that we're getting a really good representative bunch of folks to attend and participate. So this kind of summarizes some of those questions that we asked. It was really interesting to see about half of the folks that were there were completely new to the master planning process, so that's really good. Hopefully that number will decrease because people will keep coming back and engaging with us. We asked about the age of attendees, and I think that the bar at the top shows that we had a good mix of folks that are kind of in that middle range, but we didn't have anyone that was under the age of 35, and we had a lower representation of folks age 75 and older, so that's something to keep in mind of how we're engaging with different age groups. We did have 4 folks who attended that said that they work in Norfolk but don't live here, so that's interesting to get that worker perspective. All of the folks in attendance are homeowners. We had about 12% representation of people who are either property or business owners in Norfolk. About a quarter of attendees have lived here for over 20 years, which is pretty cool. And then looking at the race, it was about 90% whites, which kind of matches the town demographics, but something that we want to keep in mind. Some of the other questions that we asked about the reported household income. So a lot of high earners were represented, about half. We looked at precinct representation to see how we're getting geographic representation through the process, and it was pretty even, actually, a little bit more from precinct 3. And then we asked about household characteristics to get a sense for, are we hearing from folks who may have children in their households or people who are living in multi-generational households. And so you can see here that we had about half have children under the age of 18, about a third have a senior in their household, so they're bringing that perspective. And then about 15% are multi-generational, so that could mean either maybe you have a college student still at home or a grandparent living with you. So we like to kind of share this to keep in mind of who we're hearing from and the different perspectives. On the flip side, we want to also make sure that we're thinking about who wasn't there and who wasn't in the room to give us feedback. So this ties back to one of our first meetings when we talked about the community engagement strategy and the different folks that we want to engage. So far, we're not hearing from many people with disabilities or with lower incomes. As I mentioned, no one under the age of 35, so that younger perspective. And similarly, at the other end of the spectrum, anyone over the age of 65, more in that senior category. Business owners weren't really present at this first forum. Renters didn't have any of those. So just wanted to keep this in mind as we're going through this process. And we'll talk a little bit more later at the end of the presentation about how we're going to try to start hitting some of these other groups. We also launched the community survey at the forum, and we already have almost 200 responses. We may even be more than this. This is the number that we saw this morning when we checked the Qualtrics portal. But so far we've heard from 174 folks, so that's great for like a week or two underway. We are seeing similar demographic outreach, except we are seeing a better spread of income levels. We're seeing at least one renter so far has filled out the survey, so we're getting that perspective. And we're getting a few more younger folks doing the survey. So we'll continue to kind of track these demographics and report back to you so that we can shift and make sure we're getting a diverse participation. So as you may recall from the last steering committee meeting, this forum was really focused on helping us understand feedback to inform the vision statement and the overall process. And then we also were focusing on the issues. So, we're kind of following this model of identifying issues at the beginning of the process, shifting to solutions, and then eventually identifying implementation strategies. So at this first forum, we did some engagement exercises to both inform the vision and also understand what issues people want to see addressed in the master plan. So to do this, we had a few different engagement exercises that we organized and did in small group settings. So we had about 5 to 6 people paired up with a staff person from the team, and they kind of walked through these different engagement exercises. It was very dynamic. We had a lot of Post-its and dots that people were playing with. But we asked first, what issues and assets and strengths do you see in the town? And then we asked, what are you doing here in town versus what do you need to do outside of Norfolk, to get a sense for what people have access to here versus what they're doing outside of Norfolk. We did this cool exercise with spectrums to get a sense for different community attributes. So we asked on a scale of kind of ideal versus not ideal, how close to Norfolk is your ideal vision, how affordable is Norfolk, how healthy is Norfolk. So people put dots on the spectrum to kind of tell us where they thought that Norfolk felt they were. And then in the small groups, our team members facilitated some discussion to kind of dig into why they thought that. And then at the end of each of these exercises, we used Poll Everywhere, the kind of texting, like polling, to do report outs so that folks could, share on the big screen what was the challenge that was most prevalent at your table. And then it generated some cool word clouds that we'll get to in a minute. So before we shift to sharing kind of the feedback that we heard in those exercises, we wanted to give folks a second to reflect, if you were at the forum, what you thought about, or if you've heard like your neighbors or residents talk about the forum, and if you have any ideas or feedback for us going into future engagement.
I was real excited pulling into the parking lot. It looked like it was going to be swarmed, and it was,
And it was baseball.
We still had a good turnout, though. I was happy with the turnout. Excuse me. And I was happy with the interactive portion of it. I think people were really giving it their full attention and giving honest answers. I met a bunch of new people, so that I had never seen in Norfolk before. So I think that's also beneficial.
That's great.
Melissa, Chris, thoughts?
I wasn't there. I haven't heard any feedback, but what I've seen here presented, really interesting data. Really appreciate the time and the effort that went into it.
I thought it was great. I have not heard feedback from anyone in the community about it, really, but I thought it was great, and it was an efficient use of time, which I think we all appreciate, especially in the evening. And same with Gary. I met some people that I didn't know previously and that had different perspectives than I do as a resident in town. So that was actually kind of nice just to talk through that. So I thought it was great.
Okay.
Awesome. Good. Well, we can keep rolling unless anyone else has anything. The fun part is once we got back to the office. Oh,
Sorry.
That's okay. And got to look at all the Post-its and make sense of everything. So what we've done here on the next few slides is tried to analyze all of the Post-its and the dots into some themes of what we heard. And so we'll walk through the feedback that we heard by the different engagement exercises. The first question was, what kind of issues do you really want the master plan to try to address? And so you can see here, it runs the gambit of topics, but there were definitely some clear trends emerging that we saw through looking at all of the comments. I will say that with about 35 folks, we ended up with like over 100 individual comments. So we got a lot of really good feedback to start, and build on through this process. Overwhelmingly, people really want to see more commercial growth, to have more services. We heard a lot about grocery stores and restaurants. So people really want a grocery store in Norfolk, and other local small businesses that are, in scale with the feel of the town, but they really want to just have a few more options for commercial growth. We also heard loud and clear about different transportation options, a lot of mention about the sidewalks and the bike lanes, improving the train reliability and frequency of service. Town infrastructure came up a lot, and that runs the gambit of, town services and facilities. Recreation was pulled out a little separately because people had more specific information about that. A lot of people talked about taxes. I think this is probably no surprise that there's a residential tax burden that people feel, and that came up a lot in the conversation. And then recreation, again, you'll see on the next slide, recreation is a big asset, but then people had some recommendations for how to improve recreation. So we heard a lot of great feedback. I also wanted to mention, so we split out housing because people were giving a lot of feedback about housing, but it kind of was clear that there were two buckets of housing comments that we were hearing. I think it's worthwhile mentioning that, like, together that represents a pretty big chunk of the pie, but we were hearing a lot of, more housing options for maybe starter homes for young families, options for folks to downsize in town, and then the other issue being affordability, that housing costs have continued to go up, and that's obviously a problem for a lot of people. The next activity that we did after we asked about the issues was what are you doing in Norfolk versus where what do you have to go outside of town for? And so the box on the left shows what people said that they were doing in town. It's probably not surprising that they're staying in town to do a lot of their sports, their recreation. They're getting food from the local, restaurants and maybe fast food places. And they're going to the Walgreens. A lot of people called out Walgreens specifically, which was kind of interesting. But then on the flip side, you can see a lot more folks are going outside of town to do things. So again, grocery stores came up, restaurants, bakeries, medical services came up a lot as something that they have to leave town for.
And the grocery stores, for anybody who wasn't there, people were very specific that they don't mean a big, huge grocery store. They mean something like Brothers,
Right.
which I've heard
I've
a million
yeah.
times before, but
Yep.
just for the record, it was not a Stop and Shop, it was something small.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, as I think Josh mentioned earlier, we shifted to not going over the negatives, but focusing on the positives. And we asked about, what makes Norfolk really great? What do you love? What are the strengths of Norfolk? And so probably not surprising, the top thing was the small town rural feel here in town. It feels like a town. I think someone said, we're a town, we're not a city. And people like that. And so that was certainly something that we kept hearing. I think that it was really clear, too, that they wanted to have smart growth. Again, tying back to the earlier slide of commercial growth, they want some growth, but it should be smart growth that's still keeping the character of town. A lot of folks really also appreciate the community events, the community groups here. The Lions Club was mentioned. The Town Common or Town Hill events are really common. So folks really feel a sense of community, and I think that was really nice to hear and see through the comments. Again, recreation was a really strong asset that the town offers. Town services, this includes both services that are provided by staff here in Town Hall, but then also the really great facilities that you've invested in recently. And then transportation options, the train was really what was driving this, which is not surprising. The spectrums exercise, this one was a little tougher to analyze because it was kind of all over the place, but there were some themes that emerged as we were looking at, how folks responded to, how accessible do you think Norfolk is, how healthy, how welcoming. And so you can see here that accessibility was kind of on the lower end. Nothing was terrible, which I think is good and not surprising, but there was room for improvement from folks in the accessible, connected to history, tying those cultural events to the history and community of Norfolk, and affordability. People were a little bit closer to the ideal side whenever asked about their vision, whether Norfolk is a welcoming place, and how healthy it is. And then to kind of round out all of these, we asked a few more visionary questions to help us think about that draft vision statement that we're working towards. And so we asked, is Norfolk a great place? Why is Norfolk a great place to live? And had people kind of text in using the Pull Everywhere software. And you can see a lot of folks said small town. And so that's why it's kind of big in the bubble. These word clouds always get a little funky, so I don't think you can take it with a grain of salt, but it gets a little weird if you look at it too closely. So we'll just focus on the small town feel, and keep moving. We also said, in 2035, Norfolk will be great, wonderful, really good neighborhoods. Some folks were being a little silly at this point because it was getting late in the night, and so they said expensive. But it was still nice to see kind of the nice things and aspirations of the folks in the room.
I believe Wellesley was on that.
This is Wellesley. The future of Norfolk is Wellesley. Yeah. So then the future of Norfolk question, it got a few more interesting responses. But I think overwhelmingly, people seem to say positive things like the future is bright, the future is lively, the future, is family focused, there are opportunities. But I think that you can see in the responses that people were starting to kind of jokingly say, like, if we don't do something, it's going to be unaffordable. It's going to be a place that's not really maybe the most welcoming. So with that, that's kind of the high-level summary. We're going to continue to build on the feedback as we do more engagement, but we wanted to just give you a sense of what happened and what we kind of took away from those engagement exercises. So curious to hear if there's anything that you are surprised about in this kind of initial feedback, or something that you didn't see here that you thought might be reflected or should be reflected.
I think the demographics of the attendees is what surprised me the most. No business owners, and then the large number of age group 35 and whatever that end was.
Yep.
And on the slide where you had the things that people took issue with, it's like the first two and then the fourth one, they're all interrelated. By solving one, you kind of solve the other ones as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the commercial growth, the town infrastructure, the taxes, municipal finances, that all plays into each other. Mm-hmm. They're locked.
And even taxes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. I'll be honest. None of this surprises me. It's
Yeah.
all pretty much things that we've either discussed here, or I've heard from my neighbors, or just anybody in town.
It's
I'm not surprised by anything.
The commercial growth too is typically, that's kind of like the grocery stores. When you ask people, what do you want to see? It's not Amazon. It's not an Amazon warehouse. It's, small businesses, or unless it's on, like on 1A. I think
Right.
people care less. It's not going through the town, but
When we're always here, people want a restaurant here in the downtown.
always,
Right.
Yeah.
yes.
And that goes,
Restaurants,
and we've
boutiques,
talked
small
about that.
shops.
We got to get the town infrastructure in place to support that.
Yes.
So, yeah, they all go hand in hand. Chris is right, those top four, they're all linked.
Yeah.
Eric, anything?
No, I was there.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I'm curious, did they propose any transportation options? Because aside from the commuter rail, I don't know what else would be viable. I know we have the ACTRA kind of bus thing, but I don't think we'd be able to extend like the bus from Walpole into here or anything like that.
Yeah. So we really just heard sidewalks and bike lanes
Okay.
were
Okay.
what people would like to see. Keep in mind, we haven't gotten to the solutions part. So
Okay.
we were not really asking like what transportation options would you like to see with this issue. We were just trying to get a sense for what are people struggling with.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that will be what we'll ask next.
Something sidewalks.
Yeah.
And this is really just a reminder that this is the front end of sort of initial findings from the first forum, but we're building upon this feedback through the survey and through additional forums. So we'll continue to compile all of this and see where those patterns end up.
And the survey's still open?
Survey is open.
Till when? End of the month? Is that?
For longer, we have heard about the importance of Norfolk Town Day, which is on June 10th. And so we're going to keep the survey open through that day to promote it at the event.
Good.
Probably until about June 16th or so, we'll leave the survey open.
Okay. And is Kevin still on?
Yes.
Okay. We probably do need to, we're going to discuss this at the town meeting, which is going to be next week as well. So.
Yeah, so well, it's actually the next topic, I think, right?
Yep.
Continuing outreach.
Continuing outreach, we'll just give the committee a refresher on the moving parts that are in front of us still, so that you all can help us continue to get the word out, because there are ways to engage actively. So the first is the Norfolk Master Plan Survey, which, as we just mentioned, is open, available to all town residents who are viewing the planning board this evening or other events. Andrew and I we heard Norfolk baseball opening day is a big deal, so we were down at the Norfolk opening day for the baseball, and actually I should have, let me share with
Oh,
you
yeah.
the business cards that we made for the survey, which we handed out that day.
We learned that Staples is very cost effective for business cards, so
Nice.
we made a lot of them.
So we made some more. We handed out our collection of cards that day, but we'll leave this with the board and at the town hall because we've got more. But these were basically simple cards. People can get to know the plan. They have a QR code to sign up for the mailing list on the front and a QR code for the survey on the back. And so I think that is, if we can get these around and you all can help us grab a stack and just hand out as you see fit. But I think that will continue to help us push the survey numbers higher, which is the first thing. The other items which we now have calendar dates for are a follow-up forum, which we're trying to focus on targeting families and households with children. That will be on May 24th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. So we're trying to get the word out about that. That's less than 3 weeks from now. And we're going to be working with the schools to try to get that word out through their school outreach that will go out. I think they have some likely going out between now and then. Then the second event will be a follow-up forum for the seniors at River's Edge, and that will be on June 5th at 10 a.m. To help us reach that population, which was a little bit lacking from the first forum as well. We have not gotten a date for it yet, but we're working on getting an audience with the Norfolk Small Business Association and probably joining one of their regular meetings to have a similar, hopefully, if they will have us have a similar session to gain input and feedback from them around what they'd like to see and build on that feedback for the master plan. And then, as I mentioned, we'll be planning to have a table. We need to figure out exactly what logistical needs are required to get a table for the master plan at Norfolk Community
Community Day, yeah.
Here's your guy.
That's me.
Okay, great. We'll work with you, Eric, to figure that out. Hopefully you can give us the inside scoop to get us set up with that. But then I think the way we're going to do that, not knowing too much about how long the day is or any of that, what we'll likely do is have a sort of sign up for slots with the committee. And we'll plan on having some of our team there too, and have things like the cards, maybe a fun like spinning wheel, a candy bowl. We'll try to do some things to attract people to the table to engage with the master plan and have some exercises that they can give us some feedback at the table, but also then encourage people to take the survey at that event as well. So that's what's on the horizon sort of between now and about the next month. And any of those, if you feel like you have a specific person or group that would benefit from any of those outreach points, we'd encourage our committee members and our ambassadors to make those personal connections and invite people to participate in the process. And of course, everyone is invited. The sign-up list, actually, the email list that we're gathering is growing. It grew pretty substantially after the forum, and it continues to grow some. So please do go to the website for the project and sign up for that if you're hearing about it for the first time. And just to keep you all lined up with the timeline, so we're still in the community visioning phase right now is really what we're focused on, gathering all this input, acting as a sponge and really, taking everything people will tell us about what their challenges are and what they view as the assets for the town. At the next committee meeting, which is a meeting in June, we will be turning a little bit toward drafting the vision statement with you all. We'll try to set us up for success in terms of taking all the feedback we received to that point and giving us all in the room the tools to start to form a vision statement together. So that will be the focus of our next event. We don't need to get it right on the first shot, but we want to start getting that sort of set, and then we can work from draft to finalizing that over time. And then setting ourselves up for drafting goals over the beginning of the summer. The next meeting, which will focus on the beginnings of that vision statement, will be June 13th. And that's your next planning board meeting, I believe, as well. And so the charge between now and then is, spread the word with these business cards about the survey. Specifically, we'd love to see those numbers keep rising. We have our own ambitions to try to get, as close to 1,000 on that as possible, or even over. We're at, approaching 200 responses now, and it's been up for only 2 weeks, so
It's awesome.
we can keep pushing. And then, as I mentioned, the vision statement, the other work that's occurring in the background with our staff and the various topic leads are topic summaries, and those will be are based on the existing conditions analysis, review of previous documents and planning reports and studies. And then for each topic area, we'll have a sort of briefing, which we can all look at together, and those should be coming along around the end of June, beginning of July, that sort of time frame. And those will combine nicely with the vision statement in its draft form, so that we're really feeling set up to move from the community's feedback around what the challenges are to start thinking about solutions and goal setting.
In terms of the outreach, I just want to add that we've printed out some paper versions of the survey that will be at the library, they'll be at the post office. We're actually going to bring some ahead of time before the community meeting for the seniors at River's Edge, because they did request to have some paper ones that for folks that still want to take the survey in paper. And then we'll have some here at Town Hall as well to get out paper versions of it as well for people to be able to take it, the survey as well.
Great.
Good.
Yeah.
And we did bring a few copies of flyers for the mini workshop, so if folks want to take a few of these and pass them out or hang them up, that'd be great too.
And as I was flying through, being conscious of your planning board time, your precious time, I should also give a moment to Gloria if you wanted to add anything in regard to our outreach activities or any suggestions for help and contributions. We cannot hear you, Gloria, in the room.
Y'all hear me?
Oh,
Yes.
no,
Okay, great. Just wanted to reiterate that we really appreciate your help with sort of bringing that personal touch to explaining the master plan and getting folks interested in it and in attending these events. So thank you, Andrew and Josh, for printing out those flyers. If folks are able to grab a couple copies as you leave and hand those out over the next few weeks, that would be really appreciated. And if there's anything else we can do to help facilitate that, definitely happy to do so.
And of course, next week we'll have them at town,
Yep.
at
Yep.
the middle school for town meeting too, so.
Yeah, I would say that, a stack of these or hand out to town meeting attendees would be great.
Yep.
Yeah, those.
So you know how we have the tables typically at the town meetings? Are we having anyone kind of there before as people are coming in to like have discussions as well? Or I think that'd be also a good opportunity as people are funneling in for the meeting.
Yeah. We haven't talked about that, but I think we could certainly do that. It's been effective at other towns. Yeah.
I know it's a little short notice, and that wasn't the plan, but yeah, that would be good to have something there at the table. You got the cards, you got the paper copy, a handout.
Even if it's just, we're here, you're going to learn more. If you want to
Right.
talk afterwards, we're happy to hang out for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
Kevin has his hand up. Kevin?
Oh, Kevin's got his hand up.
Kevin, who's that?
So Kevin's got his hand up. Go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you, and sorry about that. I was trying to test this new recognize hand gesture thing. That's why it looked like I was trying to land a plane in my office. So Josh, very quickly, I just wanted to clarify. We have it listed that we're doing a senior-oriented workshop session at River's Edge, but it's important to note that it is not only exclusively for River's Edge residents, right? It is open to the public and anybody can attend.
That is absolutely true, and even though we're calling it a seniors workshop, if a resident who doesn't self-identify as a senior, if that's the only workshop that they can attend for whatever reason, they are also welcome to attend. We will take anyone who finds that a convenient time to engage with the master plan. And the same goes for the Zoom workshop, which we are calling a family workshop, but if, of course, if you do not have children in your household, you are more than welcome to attend as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great point of clarification. So it's not specifically for each, it's just you pick different formats and times to hopefully gather to gain those target audiences. But if someone else outside the target audience is available, go for it.
They will
correct.
just learn a lot about the focus group.
Yeah,
And
That's
and
great.
we are,
Fine?
just a note about those sessions in terms of their content as well. So they'll be loosely modeled after what we did at the first visioning forum, except pulling out data that we have both from the feedback and other sources that are focused on those focus groups. So maybe challenges or concerns that are more directed toward family or seniors. But of course, that doesn't preclude anyone from contributing productively in those meetings or giving feedback. So that is the general setup. And so I think it will be, if there are, for example, family households that attended the visioning forum and also want to attend the Zoom forum, I think they would get good engagement and have a productive time if they've attended the other one as well. So it will be similar but not the same, and it won't be too repetitive, and I think will be productive if people want to attend more than one.
Okay.
great.
Thank you.
I think in terms of we're still working on in terms of the business community, we also discussions with Kate O'Brien, who's the assistant town administrator, HR director, is to reach out to other businesses to have them also participate as well. So we want to do a little bit of coordination on that so we can get them as well. Which may mean we might want to consider a hybrid perhaps. I don't know. Just think about it, or we'll figure it out, but to reach out to them as well.
Awesome.
Well, I guess that was a specific question. Thanks for the reminder. We did want to ask, should we plan on doing a hybrid at the River's Edge session? One of the feedback items we heard at the visioning forum was people do prefer hybrid meetings. That came through pretty clear. And when we asked how people prefer to be engaged, hybrid meetings was a top preference. So I think we have the time right now to plan if we would like that to be a hybrid session. We could make that happen.
I think if you can make it useful for the hybrid participants, yeah.
And if the microphone is passed around
Yes.
consistently, otherwise you miss half of what is said.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, you do have a Zoom-only session that, because I've realized the challenges with a hybrid session.
Right.
I mean, if you feel you can make it, like they were saying, efficient and effective, great. Otherwise, the alternative you already have in place is a fully remote session.
One of the adaptations for a hybrid session that we were thinking about is if we had a similar setup with small group discussions in these additional forums, we could have a staff person that is on a laptop doing a virtual small group discussion
Okay.
for those
Yeah.
Zoom attendees. So it wouldn't be in the hybrid meeting as we go to a conversation that, you'd really have to have a microphone passed around for people to be, or they're just sitting there watching chaos in a room. That they would then switch to being engaged directly by someone with a laptop.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense. So they would go to like their own little breakout room, whereas the table would be a breakout room, but then you have a virtual. Okay. Yeah.
I like that. I think that would,
Yeah.
Sounds like a good plan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you very much. Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Gloria.
Thanks for making the hybrid work.
Yes, and please do. We'll leave this box here. We have another box which we're holding reserved for Community Day.
Okay.
You all can take.
Yeah.
And we do have a request to bring master plan cards to the town meeting next week. That just came in through Zoom.
Yep. And
Yes,
we got a
I'll do
box
that.
to bring them. Yep.
So we'll leave these and these.
Thank you.
And we'll check on our calendars about also seeing what we can do about staff present
Yep.
for the town meeting.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were able to make it happen for Norfolk baseball opening day, so we'll see.
Yep. Yeah, so town meeting starts at 7.
7, yeah.
But people start rolling in at as soon as 6 sometimes.
Wow.
So, I mean, I would say that if you could make it work, the time frame would be to make sure you're set up by 6-ish, and then you'd be there through, I mean, we're going to start usually 7.
No later than
7-ish.
11:59 p.m.
And so, I mean, you're there for about an hour.
Yeah,
Roughly.
you definitely don't want to stay until the end, not for this one.
Yeah, there's no point in, yeah.
Probably not going to want to talk to us at that time anyway.
No, no.
And I think between someone on the team, I think. Could be
Okay.
good. That sounds great.
Okay, awesome. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. All right, so our next item agenda was, we're circling back to the beginning, which was our board reorganization. So we have, as we mentioned, John Weddleton has retired from the board, and Melissa and I had elections. I had to run for re-election, and Melissa's our new board member. So we'll start with our clerk. So the tradition has always been for the associate to be our clerk. But is there anybody that would like to be the clerk? I guess we start with that. Who would like to take on that role?
Eric is really good at it.
So are you nominating Eric?
I'm nominating Eric. yes.
Okay, all right. We have a nomination for Eric. Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
I'm a sucker for tradition.
All right.
Precedent.
Having done the role myself, it's not a heavy lift or anything like that. It's a great way of really embroiling yourself in the process of the planning board. So I would nominate Ms. Mayo.
Gary, is there a second?
Was there a second for Eric
We
first?
got to get a second for Gary. Is there a second for Eric?
We can't have two competing.
No,
motions
sorry,
on the
I
floor?
said that was unprecedented. I was not
I
seconding
like
that.
a little competition, so I would second Eric. I guess, Eric, would you be willing to do it for another
Yes.
term? Okay, so we have Eric nominated, seconded. Now, Chris, it sounds like you would like to nominate somebody.
I would love to nominate Ms. Mayo,
Okay.
but if we have somebody who's already willing to accept it,
Well, but I mean, I think we could have a little vote. He hasn't accepted it yet. He just said he'd be willing to do it.
so that leaves you, Gary.
Interesting.
Gary like a run.
Gary, I would like to remind you that you were never the clerk.
Exactly.
I was never the clerk.
you skipped tradition as well.
I am the CPC liaison. If anybody wants to add another 4 or 5 hours of work to their month.
Yeah, I think that was your out, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't want to force anybody to do it. I don't want my vote to force anybody to do it. If Eric's willing to do it, he seems okay to do it. And there was passion in his voice. I heard it over the Zoom call.
Look at his grin. Look at this.
He's very excited about it.
And I can tell Melissa's a little hesitant about it. So,
I really don't mind doing it, but Eric is really good at it, and I think.
so it sounds like are we all in agreement? Eric,
I will accept.
Eric's clear. All right.
Do we have to do a roll call?
Do we need to do a vote?
It's a vote, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So all those in favor of Eric
We have to
being
do roll call
Do we-
because Gary's
yeah.
on. So.
Yeah.
Gary's
So
on,
all
so-
right. So we'll do a roll call vote. We'll start with Gary.
The motion is for Eric Diamond to be clerk.
Yep.
Correct?
Yes.
Aye.
Melissa.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Aye.
And Eric votes aye. So unanimous.
All right,
So we have our clerk.
all right.
All right. So then do we go to the top or do we do the vice chair?
I think probably go to the
tradition?
top.
What's traditional? Okay. So we have, next is chairman. So is there anybody who would like to run for chairman? Or does anybody would like to nominate somebody for chairman? Was like dead silence. So I'll be willing to be chairman for another year. I feel like I just kind of got a rhythm going here. It takes a little bit to get into this role. It took several months, so I'd be willing to take that on for another year.
Maybe I'm the sucker for tradition because I like it exactly how it was.
Second year.
My self-nomination.
I guess I'll nominate you for chairman.
I'll second that nomination.
All right. So we'll do a roll call vote. We'll start with Gary.
Aye.
Melissa.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
And the chair votes, the old chair votes aye. All right, so next is vice chair. Anyone?
I nominate Chris. Assuming he wants it. He's doing a pretty good job.
Happy to continue.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Any other discussion on that? All right, let's do a vote. Gary?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
I vote aye. Chris?
Aye.
All right, unanimous.
Nothing changed.
Nothing changed. We're so awesome. I guess we
pushed that in
we
front of
really
everything
enjoyed the
else.
structure. We're going to carry it forward for another year.
I like consistency.
Okay. All
So
right.
simple.
That is done. Next item of business, Norway Farm subdivision.
Yes. We do have Mr. Kane joining us via Zoom. Is it foggy out there? Or?
I don't know. I think it's my camera, the lights.
The lighting.
Good evening, all.
Let's have a smudge.
I thought maybe he's on the Cape or something. No.
There we are.
Oh,
Yeah,
all right.
no.
Excellent. So Mr. Kane is before you relative to condition 12 of the definitive subdivision approval for Norway Farms, which states that the planning board is to review the pathway between lot 6 and 7 of Norway, off of Norway Farm Drive to the open space, which street address now is 18 and 16 Norway Farm Drive. With discussion, Mr. Kane, ahead of time, one of the things that he was bringing to the board to discussion, perhaps the concept of really removing that connection from Norway Farm Drive to the open space. There are, I don't know if members had a chance to drive by and take a look at it. I did take some photos that we can take a look at as part of the this
Right.
discussion.
References up.
So I think what's
I
good.
can give you more context.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
What's the driving force? Why the request? I mean, I know the answer, but
Okay.
I mean,
So the driving force for the request is that it's a significantly steep grade
Yeah.
between the two houses up to the open space. And in terms of the subdivision itself, the approval, we talk about accessibility, and this trail path, if you will, is not even,
Right here between these two lots.
yeah, I think if we maybe share that photo I have.
And that was intentional previously to go to the other street in the other.
Just to get, no, just to get to the open space
open
behind the
space.
back of the houses, yeah. So the homeowners that live behind that open space on Canterbury Estates, they can get to it from their own, so they have access through the,
Okay.
which would have been the roadway connecting that abuts.
That whole issue that we resolved last year.
No, that's different. That one's over at Crestbrook Road.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know if you want, I can share
so
the.
Canterbury. My understanding is Canterbury has their own like access trail to the open space for Norway Farms.
Got it.
And Norway Farms has this trail or proposed trail, but they also have access through the open space actually is abutting Norway Farms Drive. Is it called Norway Farms Drive?
Right, it wraps
So-
around the lots.
Yeah. So they can get to the open space now without the trail.
so if you,
So the first part of the trail looks beautiful, and then it goes.
yeah, so it's pretty nice flat grade there, and then you get to the back of the house lot and just, it goes up the hill. And this, so the easement, and to speak to this, it's only 10 feet wide, and quite frankly, I would be very concerned that somebody could fall and end up falling on private property, not even, so, because it's so steep, that I do think it really definitely get a, that's the, looking at the slope from the,
Does the slope go up this way?
correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so where the truck is, that's the back of the flat part of the lot, and then that hill goes up there, and then it continues to go up towards Cranberry Estates in the back.
Okay.
And the easement is for what?
The easement is just to be able to get from Norway's Farm Drive to that open space.
Oh.
That open space does wrap around, which will, if you want to show pull up the subdivision plan. And Eric and I were talking about this today. So the open space fronts, it comes out to Medway Street and then goes along Norway Farm Drive, then wraps around the first lot on the right-hand side, which is lot 14. And in the subdivision approval, what is required is to put signage out there and mark it with bounds to know that that is an open space and a point of entry for people to walk, to go through. Now, it didn't require a trail, actually a constructed trail. Caitlin Nova in our office, who's the conservation agent, I had her go back through, look at the conservation restriction, which is on that property, because the association owns it, but there's a conservation restriction to the town of Norfolk, and the Conservation Commission oversees the administration of that conservation restriction. There wasn't a trail proposed or to be constructed there. So literally, if you're walking through the woods to get into that open space that does go near the pond, and then you can walk around, go up to the open space that's behind those homes, and then get out to Cranberry Estates. But Canterbury. Let me see.
Cranberry.
It's
Oh,
okay.
that's the other part of town, sorry.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even exist. Too many Cs. So there is still public access to it. There was never, way back eons ago, and I'm probably taking all of Rob's presentation, but there was discussions about putting a trail and then so forth, but that was upwards of 15, almost 20 years ago now we're talking about. That the final plan did not include that, a trail being developed.
So that's actually a really good.
Yeah, that's a good view of that open
Right,
space.
so you can access it off of Medway Street, right?
Right, yeah, right, that little piece there next to lot 14, it connects out.
Right under the R.
Yeah, right by the R
Yeah,
there.
and it goes around.
Now, it does require to have signage, and it does require to be monumented. So what I think is important is that lessons learned, if you will, particularly with Frederickson Road in terms of that open space, and
It sucks.
it's, yeah, there you go. So, to be monumented too, so some signs, so he has to monument it anyway, has to be monumented, but also signage that people can see that they could go through there. So it's clear to the public, but also the future homeowner that's gonna live on lot 14, so they know that the public can access it there. Whether they do or not, it's a different story, but it is open to the public to be able to walk through there.
And can they also access it through the roadway that never was?
The road, yeah, they can.
The Crestbrook?
Yeah, yep. Not Crestbrook,
No,
Canterbury.
that's gone.
That's gone. So the connection to Crestbrook, you eliminated,
And we took the trail and everything out. too.
took it all
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
That connection is,
Utility easement, but
But
it's
it's still, there's
utilities.
still an easement
the
there,
utility
right?
easement's there, but the
Right.
connection for pedestrian purposes
And
is
so that is no longer included in the open space.
correct.
Okay.
It actually technically
no,
was
that
never,
open space-
it was never in the open
It
space?
was never in the open
No,
space
no,
to begin
that's-
with.
That's
Because I can see it, it's,
yeah,
Okay.
that's a homeowners association parcel.
okay.
So, so that's the evolution of this request. It's time sensitive in terms of 18, if I got my address right, is ready for occupancy in June. 16 is not too far away. This particular condition is tied to occupancy. So Mr. Kane's looking for some guidance.
I don't see the lots that you mentioned.
What's that?
6 and 7.
6 and 7?
Oh.
It's lot,
6 and 7.
yeah, which is,
So the addresses go up
Got
in
it.
numbers? Yeah, so lot 6 is 18, which is the one that's ready to go. And 7's not too far behind, actually, which would be 16.
so is it safe to say if we were to require Rob to build the trail, it would be unsafe because of the slope? And not really in, we'll just call it
I
unsafe.
think, in my opinion, I think it would be unsafe.
It doesn't look very safe.
No.
No, in the original plans, we weren't requiring any specific grading to make it safe.
No, that was the thing. It was left up to them to propose something and then the board to review and approve what was in there. And this is kind of, I mean, it's a little bit off topic per se, but I think going forward, I think when we have these trails, they need to be designed out, like not an afterthought per se where, the grade is steep. It's, I'd be afraid that somebody would get hurt. And
so who proposed the trail in the first place?
well, Rob could
As a
probably
condition.
get to that.
It was a condition of the conservation.
Condition approval.
In the open space, yeah, it was a
Yeah.
condition.
So there's.
I think it's Rob can fill you in. I feel like it's a regression of a plan that, it had this vision of how this subdivision was gonna done, and it kind of slowly, it got modified over time. And that's me looking at it. That's not my opinion, but maybe Rob could share. I'll defer to Rob.
If I could jump
Yeah,
in.
go ahead.
My recollection is that possibly in the master plan or in subdivision guidance or the open space language, the word connectivity comes up. And I think that was the idea with the sidewalk going from Norway Farms Drive to Crestbrook, the walking trail through. That's how the trail started off between 6 and 7. But, as I mentioned in my letter to the board this morning, there really, except for what was abandoned before on the walking trail, our property doesn't abut any other conservation lands, open space, or anything. We're really landlocked. So that idea of sort of being connected to, another wildlife area or walking trails or something really isn't viable. Even the woods also up and back of where that grading was done is extremely steep. It's hard to walk through. And that part of the open space is only about 100 feet deep all along from sort of where the walking trail was down to where it opens up a little bit more behind where, lot 8 would be, my existing barn.
And then conceivably, if we were going to do something to make it safe, we'd be removing trees and, disturbing earth and moving.
You'd have to start the grade halfway out between those homes.
Yeah.
And even once you got up into the woods, you'd still have a grading issue.
Yeah, makes no sense.
You'd be having to switch back
Right.
and forth to get up to the.
Unfortunately, I wasn't part of it, but when the original plan was approved, they should have taken into consideration the y-axis, the z-axis, and looked at, this was not a good spot for this trail, and maybe we should have done it in between 2 other lots. Maybe it would have been better between 7 and 8, or
No, it's all very steep.
or between 10 and 11. But yeah, we can't go back in time.
Right.
So we're here, presented here with what we have. Doesn't appear to be safe. So what happens with if we say that we're not going to build a trail, what happens with the easement? Do we still keep the easement as?
So my recommendation probably would be to eliminate the easement, Rob, I don't know, I haven't really talked to him about that, but I think it might be worth.
I think from the deeds and, selling of the lots and all that, it would probably make it cleaner for the sale, without having that easement there.
Yeah.
And there's no benefit to keeping it?
I think if you were to keep it, 10 years from now or 20 years from now, somebody's going to want to know why the trail never got built. We're not going to be here anymore. They're going to want to know why the trail didn't get built, and they're going to want to build it. They're going to want to build it or something. I don't know.
I'm not really seeing the value of keeping it. I think it's.
Just want to make sure we play both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And you may not see it, but now.
No, I'm a big proponent of not reliving that Frederickson Road disaster that's over there.
Yeah. I mean, whoever goes in, the homeowner in 16, if it were to be there, I'd be like, you'd be out having a, Angry Orchard and eating a steak, and somebody'd be like behind your back, the way it laid out. It just didn't, talk about intrusive.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And that's one of the main concerns that the family abutting the one in Frederickson Road had. And it's a nice white fence now, and you can't even tell how much of a space you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm in favor of it.
Removing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
There is still an issue of the smaller easement, the non-trailed portion under the R in Norway Road, Farm Drive there.
Yeah, how wide is that little sliver?
That's 10 feet, and it's steep or just as steep as the one that we're eliminating. I walked it today, and
Oh, did you walk it today? Okay.
Yeah,
It is
nearly
steep.
impossible to get
Yeah,
on.
it's a 10-foot wide walking path.
Not that one, the other one.
No, the
Up by lot
one-
14.
We still got some more grading to
Oh.
change over there, but it is. There's no grading shown on that plan, so it means.
no.
But that's not necessary, that's the conservation easement, right?
Yes, that narrow little strip right there.
Yeah.
No, but Eric's point's taken, it's still even.
So can the trail be built there?
No, he's not building it. They're not building a trail. It's just.
Oh, they're just going to mark it. I'm
It's-
sorry.
yeah,
You're just going to
marked.
mark it.
It's
You're going to mark
but
it.
You can't.
You're gonna mark it and you're
You're going to mark it and that's it.
Was the grade always similar, or was it different when the trail was proposed initially? I guess that's a question for you, Rob.
Originally, when you came in, the entrance to my driveway is kind of where the road is now. And there was not a whole lot of grading coming in off of Medway Street. But to the right of my driveway, as you drove down into the nursery, there was a large hill there. To put the new road in, that hill did get cut down to get the appropriate grading, the 1%, whatever it is, coming from Medway Street, making that transition into where the property opened up. So there was a hill there to begin with. I guess you could say that that hill just got pushed back over to where we have the parking area, and we have a garden with some stones, and I kind of put some steps in with the idea that's where I would, put the sign for the open space. It's kind of steps to nowhere. Once you go up, it gets you in the right direction to go up and make that turn towards the bottom of the page, a right-hand turn, to walk down the top behind lot 14, and then you would make a left into the woods. But again, once you get down into those woods, all the grading around here, the natural grading is extremely hilly. You know, it's very, very up and very down. Even going over to where the pond is. Once you start down the bank of the pond, it's pretty steep. But
It's good for the wildlife, that's about it.
yeah, and there is some great wildlife down here.
Yeah, well, I don't know about the wild. I'm assuming it's wild. Yes, it's very good for wildlife. It's not a
It's not a good walking trail.
no. It's not
By
a
any
walking
means.
trail.
None of it back there really is, so.
No.
So you're looking for, so any other discussion? Gary, do you have any questions?
No, I think the conversation's pretty thorough.
Okay, so Rich, you're looking for a motion?
Yeah, motion to remove path/trail, I guess, or path, I guess I'd call it, than a trail, but between
Two
lot-
separate motions, one to remove the trail and then one to remove the easement.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
So,
Do you need to classify this as a minor type of thing?
it's a minor
before you can do that?
plan
You can
review?
do that, yes, as a minor.
So looking for a motion for a minor plan modification to remove the open space trail between lots 6 and 7 of Norway Farms.
So moved.
We will, do I have a second?
Second.
We'll do a roll call vote. Gary?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. And so then you want a second motion, correct, Rich, to remove the easement. So we also need the minor plan modification, or?
Yeah, the minor
Okay.
plan modification.
So looking for a motion for a minor plan modification of Norway Farm subdivision to remove the easement, the trail easement between lots 6 and 7.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Gary?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. All right. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for all your hours and hard work.
Appreciate it.
Thank
You have a good evening.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Is John still here? Antonio? Did he just step out?
Want him to stay?
Right there. Right there.
Oh, there he is. Okay, all right.
All right, so next item is Shire Industrial Park. Informal discussion.
Although
Or did you
would-
want to jump ahead?
Well, I
Jump
think
ahead?
skip out of order, Mr.
Yep.
Panantonio, which is 17.
Yep.
And then we can go back to Shire.
Yep.
He can stay around for that if he wants,
Yep.
but
So next is 17 Shire Drive. Why don't you just introduce yourself? And-
Hello, my name's John Pantonio. I am the owner of 17 Shire Drive.
Great, thank you.
Well done.
So you're here tonight looking for a temporary occupancy permit which expires June 1st.
yeah, looking for an extension on the temporary occupancy permit. Hindsight being what it was, we probably should have had it after your June meeting, so we didn't be caught in the middle here. If you had a chance to go up there, significant progress has been made towards the completion of the project at the site. And one of the last remaining items, I don't know if you got my voice message or not,
Yes,
but
yes, I did, yeah.
it's screening the dumpster, which is left to be done. And I came up, it is a plan requirement to screen the dumpster. And then my thought was, in terms of, I'll show you a picture of the dumpster so you can see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Let me see. So I'm just gonna share.
Yeah, I drove up there as well, and you made a lot of progress.
Almost there.
Yeah, you are. You're almost there.
Where's the?
Sometimes that last 5% is the hardest.
It sure is.
Oh, here it is.
Always.
I got it. Okay.
The dumpster photo?
There you go. So there's the dumpster photo.
Okay.
So as you can see in the dumpster, the top part is where it gets emptied into trash truck, but the sides is the that little sliding door. In terms of being able to put rubbish in the dumpster. So what I just proposed is, it's on both sides, actually, that door, either or, is just to put the fence around and just put a little gate so you can just open it so you can put the trash in it. And then you have another gate to be able to go in, pick up the dumpster and unload it as the way to screen it.
Yeah,
'Cause it
so
does
a double gate in front, just a little door
and then a
on the
little
side.
door gate on the side. So
Yeah, that's fine. That's
Okay.
fine. I'll take care of that.
So then, you know, for Mr. Pantoni to do that, he just needs a little bit of time. So really it would be to grant an extension on temp till, I don't know how long, I mean,
Well, this can be done over the next couple of weeks. What I think what's going to need the extension is the top coat of paving
okay.
and the asphalt berm that's going to go around the cul-de-sac. I'm hoping to get it to happen at the same time that we address the road up there permanently. Because without paving the whole cul-de-sac, it's going to weaken that berm if I install it now. It really should be done all as one.
Part of a much bigger conversation.
Right.
Right.
It is.
So I don't know if I can get to, take care of this fence.
And so
Then
if
I've
you do
pretty
it
much-
now you're doing the Cape Cod berm as opposed to the monumental, which
Right.
would be more beneficial. And
Right.
I'd rather do the monumental instead.
And that's it. And that's all I have left.
Monolithic, thank you.
Monolithic.
And words, yeah.
The
Monolithic.
task is monumental,
Yes.
Task is
completing the
mine.
subdivision,
Words
yes.
escape me at this hour of night.
That's right.
Right.
No worries.
And my binder coat has all the lines for parking painted already on it, so after the fence goes up, the last thing is the curb and the last top coat.
I think you probably would be, put the screening around the dumpster, put your top coat in, and we'll have to talk to DPW about where to run the berm. Don't run it out to Shire,
Right, for now.
because,
Because that circle was going to be temporary, but I'm hearing it's going to be permanent now.
well,
By the way, that's way on my
Ah.
property as well.
I know, but that's the problem
so stay tuned.
is the. You're right. That was supposed to be temporary, and it is on your property.
Way on it.
And it's, yeah, so.
But we have a path potentially to talk. So if you want to just talk about this,
Yeah.
and then just sit over there if you want. You can
So
stay
how-
there, and I can then talk to you about Shire Drive next. How's that?
So,
We have to keep that in consideration, though, with regards to how far along we're extending this.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So, well, let me just tell you the piece about Shire Drive, and then
give us a little tidbit there.
Tibbet, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Keep you. So what I'm going to be asking the board as we kind of go through this process to complete Shire Industrial Park is to abandon that little turnaround that's there. So essentially, it would dead end. Mr. Brolin's site, which is 19, you would just go into his site like you do now, and the little island goes away. It's just, you're just off of it. We just need to, I just need to talk to Bob and make sure we work it through so that it has proper frontage for zoning, but that was the thought. So basically, it would just dead end into no turnaround, and so the businesses just would drive off it for frontage purposes.
What does that do for an emergency services perspective?
Great question. 19 Shire Drive, we might technically need to get an easement from him to be able to drive around there. There's adequate ability to drive around that site because it does already handle large equipment. So we probably may need an easement to do that, but that would be part of the process to do that.
But what about, so 19's the one that we're...
19's all the way at the end.
19 's
That's where
at
it
the
ends.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
He's just right before
17 is like right before it.
Right before
And so if we do get rid of the cul-de-sac, I'll be regrading my parking lot and entering farther out into the road. Which is why I think, can I just keep the binder for now until this is all solved and put the top coat on at the end?
But then also, do we cause issues with emergency services to his property?
No, that's my driveway.
No, he
would
could
be
just drive right
there
in.
like
He's
everybody
first.
else's up on
Yeah.
the
Sure.
I'm sort of thinking it might need a field visit and talking with DPW to kind of, because I'm going to tell you, this is going to take time, because there's a list of issues we need to get through to get this road to complete, which, one is, well, the roadway parcel is in tax title. So that needs to be removed out of tax title. There's options to do that. But I will tell you, I just was looking into this with another piece of property with the treasurer's office, and they did a title exam on that property and found there was some liens on it. So in order to take a piece of property, a deed in lieu of foreclosure, so there could be encumbrances. We haven't even done a title exam on the roadway for Shire Drive, and considering somebody was foreclosed on, I don't know what we're gonna find yet. So
what's the best the best path forward to make him whole?
I think the best path forward is to just have another kind of brainstorming session, like how we might try to do it in the end, and may have to come back in.
But
and do
tonight
some
we need to
stuff.
extend
You definitely need to extend for tonight.
Tonight, it makes
Yes.
sense, my opinion, makes sense to extend the temporary occupancy. But yes, we probably need to have an on-site meeting with DPW and
Correct.
discuss what the options are, knowing that this is going to take a
It
little.
may be okay to be the binder for a little bit, so we might have to extend this out, so he's on binder.
Right.
Till we get a few more answers yet. I don't have complete answers until we,
So what's the statute state with regards to how long we can provide a temp for?
Yeah, that's a good question.
there isn't a,
There's no limit,
it's our bylaw in terms of our local site plan, so there isn't necessarily an end date per se.
So I mean,
We don't want to keep it, he has an occupancy permit in terms of the building code.
Right.
So this temporary is related to the site improvements.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, could we conceivably extend him till December?
You could, yeah, you could.
And
Which,
that way, if we mitigate before then, we can ask him to come back. And
I think that's a reasonable approach to do something along that line, because we're gonna have to do the title work, and if perchance deed in lieu of foreclosure is an option we can pursue, it wouldn't be till the November town meeting anyway.
Right.
So, hopefully, but there's gonna be steps in, but before that we'll talk about next though,
Right.
so.
So that's what
So
I
when
would
you're
vote.
saying December, are you saying December after our, you want to say like December 31st or?
No, like December, our
December
meeting in
15th?
December.
Yeah, whenever our December meeting, like the
12.
day after our that meeting?
Yeah, day after.
So I would come to this meeting to get my next extension if I had to.
Come to 12/12
If I had to.
if
If
you needed
needed.
an additional
Yeah.
extension,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, our December meeting's 12/12, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, from a, site perspective, you're comfortable dealing with the fall, early winter mess on the property? with
Yeah,
what you have there
we've
already?
been taking care of it for a couple of years.
All right, perfect.
Because I can't really close it out until we've solved this cul-de-sac issue.
100%.
And I'm
Right.
kind of stuck.
Yeah, you are,
Yeah.
right,
Thank you.
yeah. So we need,
to make a motion, vote from there.
so motion to extend the temporary occupancy on 17 Shire Drive until December 13th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Gary,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Chris,
Strong eye.
Eric,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And if you want to hang around, because now the next we're going to talk about the informal discussion of Shire Drive, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you.
Okay.
So in terms of Shire Drive informal discussion, as we just alluded to, there's a bond that's being held by Walpole Cooperative Bank in the amount of $272,000. I did include in your update, in terms of your Google Drive, an estimate from DPW to complete. And I'm going to say, use the word complete loosely because of the condition of the roadway. It's really a reclamation project. It's not really a subdivision. but
Wow.
I say loosely complete because that's what we need to do. But I already talked to you just about in terms of the roadway itself. Interesting thing about, well, there's a lot of interesting things, but the drainage lot, which also includes the septic system, the septic field for this whole thing, is owned now by the town of Norfolk, which acquired the property and tax title several years ago. That wasn't the intent of this subdivision when it was approved as a commercial subdivision. The
intent?
lot owners within this development were gonna maintain that and own it and so forth.
Like part of like an HOA or
Part of an HOA.
a POA or something.
Yeah, that's not the case to now, just to set the stage, we own it now.
Interesting. So the town owns it, but okay.
Yeah, and with the police station dispatch center going in, we're a part of the puzzle now because we're on a landowner. Before, that wouldn't have been the case, with it all private, but anyway.
And that's on separate septic, or is it tied into that one?
It's tied into that one.
Okay.
Yeah, so all the businesses are tied into that
Okay.
system, but just kind of background, just to give you. And so that's part of it. I mean, that's not a critical path of it, but the next critical path, which I think we should consider, the board consider, is hold a public hearing to call the bond in default, which I don't think be too challenging, for failure to perform. So that way we get the money from Walpole Cooperative Bank and it goes held with the treasurer's office in town of Norfolk. Which then would allow us to hire an engineering company to do an existing conditions assessment of the infrastructure there. In discussions with DPW, more likely than not, we're gonna have to TV some lines to see what kind of conditions those are in. And we'll have to spend some of that money to kind of get an assessment of where we're at in terms of the conditions of it. It's not getting any better, but once we can do those things, we can get a better handle of what needs to be done. As I mentioned earlier, one part of this is to seek the planning board to modify the subdivision to change that cul-de-sac at the end of Shire Drive. There may be some things that I may want to ask the board to consider, which is, like the screening trees that were supposed to be around the basin. It's like a forest now on that basin, so the need to screen it, I don't think is really that important necessarily. It is an industrial, it's a commercial subdivision, so the abutter to it is, it's a commercial user, so.
And there's no current HOA, there's no current association, we'll say.
I don't think there is.
The intent was to have it.
Yeah.
Is there a requirement to create it? Like part of the subdivision?
There is a part to requirement, but that's the other piece I do need to do more homework on to see what's there. I don't think it's been.
I mean, it's just.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Since he's a lot owner, it'd be helpful.
Yeah, yep.
I get letters that there is an association up there, and there are some board members on it.
Okay.
Okay.
I believe Island Light and Power might be one of them, and Mass Bridge.
Okay.
I think Mass Bridge is where I get those letters from.
Okay.
You should consider taking all the slope curbing out. That's my opinion. The whole
DPW would agree with you.
whole place. Okay. Should I go back to my chair now?
No.
Well said.
They're not a fan of those either.
No, they're not a fan of it either. And actually, if there was maybe there's that's something to be that's on the table. So we're going to creatively try to move forward on this. We're going to have to problem solve this, but that's part of the challenge going ahead. And we'll, like I said, we have to do some legal research to figure out where we're at.
Well, and also, if there is an association that maybe they have some clues
Yeah.
and some of the answers,
Yeah.
maybe not all of them, but
Some of the answers.
Okay.
Yeah, the next step is I'll reach out to Mass Bridge and Island, and then sit down with them around the table and just kind of talk through some of these issues.
Right.
before I was gonna say was, there are street trees that are part of this subdivision approval. You know, that might be something that you think about whether, you know, if there's cost savings to be had.
Right.
To spend money on elsewhere, you know.
Value engineering.
Value engineering.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
All right.
So my next step from tonight is to reach out to Mass Bridge and then Island and Sidret, set up a meeting with them and kind of talk it through and compare notes, and then come back to the board with a next step, which one of those next steps will be definitely to hold a hearing to pull the bond.
Sounds good. Questions, anybody? Okay.
All right.
Next item is 19 Shire Drive.
Thank you again.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So in terms of 19 Shire, if you've been out, significant progress has been made.
Yep.
There. Yeah, I think he's still completing the final grading in the back where the material is. The rain garden needs to be installed yet. God bless you.
Thank you.
The striping, the top coat is in, but the striping's not in yet. So he's pretty good shape, although that one runs to the end of June 30th, so I'm gonna reach out to him just to kind of get another progress update from him. But both of these sites have made significant progress, and just for the record, they do have occupancy in terms of under the building code.
Right.
It's just a site, so. Yeah, and that's it.
Okay.
Then,
Town meeting presentation and warrant articles.
I think, Melissa, you have yours on the shared drive, right?
Oh, yes, the presentation was, and then I was working on it today to consolidate slides.
Did you put it on the shared drive too? So we can just go look at it if you want, or?
Yeah.
So just in terms of segue to town meeting, so Melissa's been doing a great job on working on the presentation piece. And Gary too. Gary.
He's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I was engaged at the beginning. Melissa's driven this one.
Good. See, all right, that's a good segue. All right, so Melissa's been, I want to be accurate factually,
He'd
right?
break his entire body, basically.
Yeah, he said some broken parts of his body, but, so Melissa's working on handling the sign bylaw presentation for town meeting. Keep it simple, relatively speaking, short, few slides. Same thing for the Article 26, 27, 28.
Right.
First article, which I do need to give you to take a look at before next week, so I'm going to get correct on this.
Yeah.
Time is getting
You
short.
got time tomorrow afternoon?
That's what I'm planning on, yeah.
All right.
Between tomorrow and Thursday.
Yeah, I'm wide open tomorrow afternoon, Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
So let's talk.
So, but basically it's 3 slides. One is condensing down that memo I put together, like what each article is doing in boilerplate, simple terms. That would be slide 1. Slide 2 would be, and I think I have it on here if you want to just take a look.
Slide 2 is going to be, I think, the sample that you put together, Melissa.
Yeah, I think that's on here, isn't it?
Yes.
Your sample?
Where it basically shows, here's the redundancies, and here's why we're getting rid of them.
I have that one
And
too.
it was
Do you
like
want me to
it was a
download it?
quick one-pager.
What was that?
Do you want me to upload that one, download it from my computer and upload it onto the folder too?
Sure.
Okay.
And then slide 3 was going to be...
It's going to be what the before and after for a sub-district category. So for example, you can see what it looks like. I think I want to think about it. It's probably from 26 or 27. And then 28.
It'd be going from 26 to 28. So it would show the initial, we built the table.
Yeah.
And just a one page, and then it would show, okay, now we cleaned it up and we added all the no's in there.
Yeah, so for one slide, it looks like the transportation utilities section is not that much, just as one to use that you can easily put on one slide. You can see it simultaneously. But because the other ones are too many. There's too many uses. It would get too cluttered.
All right. You should be able to see the one for 26, 27, and 28, which is just titled Articles 26, 27, 28 Visual Snapshot.
Oh, did you even take a crack at that too? Oh, no, that's your one you did, yeah.
That's
Yeah, so that's,
current state,
that's
future
slide,
state. Yeah.
slide 2.
Yeah. So that so the feedback that we got, so initially, when we went to advisory, they wanted as much detail as we could give them. But then so Brian Beachkowski offered to take this one and sponsor it, I guess you would call it. And so he said, it was great that we had all the detail at the advisory board, or advisory committee, but now we need to just create basically a highlight of what it is, just explain what we're trying to do, because it was way too much information for the average person that's walking in, grabbing, the handouts, sitting down, and you just don't have enough time to get through it all. So I just created this slide to show this is what we're doing. So where you see daycare, nursery, daycare, family, home, just, in the red box there, duplicate use, and just explained what exactly we're doing there. Just consolidating it, essentially. It's almost so simple that it seems complicated until you just show a quick visual. So this is what we did just to show, throughout the document, this is all we're doing. That's
really well done.
Thanks. So this will be slide 2. I don't know what the other slides are, but
Yeah, so
this would be slide 2.
that would be slide 2.
Okay.
Slide 1 is the memo so Rich and I put the memo together back in January. I think we sent the first one to select board, and it was just outlined, here's our 3 articles. Article 1 was, and this is the memo, what we're gonna do for slide 1 is just gonna be bullet points. So Article 26 is, we built the table, and here's a couple bullet points of what we did. Then Article 27 is, now we cleaned it up. We got rid of the duplications and the inconsistencies. Again, a couple bullet points explaining that. And then the final article, Article 28 is, all right, now we filled in all the blanks. So there's no room for question.
And that was the overview that you gave at advisory, where they all said that's great. It's the perfect explanation. Okay.
Yeah, so that's going to be our slide 1, is just explaining that with some bullet points. Then the slide 2 is what you've already done. Then slide 3 was going to be what Rich and I were talking about, is it'll be that original table that we built that's got all those inconsistencies, but just an example, just one use. I think you said transportation. And then have it side by side with, okay, now we cleaned it up and we filled in all the blanks. And so here's the final. And that's it. And we're not going to do it for I don't want to show slides for all of it. We'd have 100 slides.
We would, and that's actually the struggle. So I thought when I offered to create this one pager, it was kind of laughable after I started going through, 'cause I'm like, this can't be one page. I just have to take a snapshot of one of the pages, because there's just so many tables.
Yeah.
So
I think though, like if you also read what the advisory board wrote for the proposed amendments, they got it. They explained the intent really well.
Yeah.
And so I think that coupled with these slides, it's going to push us in the green. 100%.
Yeah.
I agree.
And then Jay is going to allow Chad to get up when 26 comes up and talk about 26, 27, 28 together in one presentation.
Got it.
And then go to the votes.
Perfect.
Yep.
Which, for the record, he thinks in the future we should separate them. It's a little tricky like this, but of course we went back and forth, 10 different ways.
Well, he wanted them.
He wanted them all bundled.
One all bundled.
And that was one of our iterations. We've had so many iterations.
Yeah,
with this.
no, we had issues just communicating that amongst ourselves.
Right.
Yeah. So
Well, that was explained to him. Well, there was a choice.
I get it. I understand. It's a lot, especially at the finance town meeting. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we did a good job, and I think, I'm proud of the work that was accomplished, and I think it's a no-brainer.
yeah. Oh, you're right. He did want them bundled. It was somebody else that wanted them separated. Yeah. He wanted them bundled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it now. We are here. We have 3. We're going to.
And just to be clear, the exhibits will be there. We're not that crosswalk kind of thing we did. That's staying home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But staying home.
Yeah, but I think what Melissa was saying is really a good understanding of what advisory was looking for. It's some good insight. They wanted all that detail so that they could understand it. But then they backed off on that, like, look, that's all the detail we needed to understand. But when you go to town meeting, it needs to be at a higher level and a snapshot. Take a snapshot, make a good example, which Melissa did. So,
Yeah, so hopefully that's, easy enough to understand and,
I think it's great.
and your explanation is perfect for, exactly what it's going to be and putting the nose in at the end where it's now a little, confusing.
Yeah. Well, it eliminates any room for question.
Misunderstanding, yeah.
Okay.
So that's that one.
I apologize in advance. I won't be at the town meeting.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really wanted to, but I've got other priorities.
Mail in your vote.
I wish, right? Like, I wish there was a hand raise function via Zoom that I could vote in.
You could do what Kevin just did.
Yeah, exactly.
Gary, you had to make certain.
Gary, you gonna make it out or?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was-
I mean, as long as I can keep it to 2 hours, I can sit in a wheelchair. I did that for the master plan committee meeting
Okay.
2 Tuesdays ago.
Nice.
You did, but you also had an
Was that what
executive
you made it on
chair.
the floor or no?
No, because you were able
That's
to.
right. I did have an executive chair thanks to
at the hearing,
Melissa
so
taking
that
it off
went
the
to the
stage.
You might have to
select board,
find him an
everything was already
executive chair and
settled.
roll it in.
Nice.
Nice. Okay.
That's what he had. He had a very special throne.
The throne. Nice. You deserve it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, if it's gilded or made of any
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of fancy steel.
Throne or with the crown or anything. I don't
All
mind.
right. Anything else on the town meeting? I think.
No, I think
Good
we
for
covered that well.
All right.
Yeah, the only other thing was the business signage. I'm still,
Yeah.
so I'm consolidating that as much as possible. I didn't have a chance to get back to it until today
Okay.
because it's been a little crazy. I think Jay said that he wanted to review any slides ahead of time that were going to be presented, so I'm going to work on that tomorrow so I can get it over.
So we should finish ours this week
Whoever.
too.
Yeah, and give it to him. Yep.
And, I mean, you guys have already seen pretty much what it is. It's just visuals and at the beginning an explanation, which I think would be helpful to know that this wasn't a town-driven initiative. It was from the Small Business Association, so.
Yep.
So,
And that this is our first step.
Right. That's the big thing. Like with this, like some people are gonna say, why aren't we going further? Crawl, walk, run.
yeah.
Yep.
So, keep it short, but I'll send the slides over, and it's basically just going to be prettier version of what you guys have seen already.
Just
and
while you're
shorter.
talking, don't promise any specific timelines for the walk portion or anything like that. They'll hold us to it.
Right.
Okay. All right. Meeting minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for April 11th as printed.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. So we'll do a roll call vote. Gary?
Aye.
Now, can Melissa vote on this? She was an associate member.
But she was there.
She was there.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
performing an administrative function here,
Okay.
so.
Melissa?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And I will abstain, because I wasn't at the meeting. So that passes.
Yeah, so in that case, she would have been able to vote anyway since
Yeah,
you weren't there.
yeah.
And we needed.
Yep. So fire station special permit, we got to sign that before we leave tonight?
Yep.
Okay. And discuss the vacant associate member position. So has anybody expressed any interest?
Donna?
I haven't heard anybody express an interest, so need to get the word out.
Okay. Should we put a sign, bring a sign to town meeting? Big sign, associate member, planning board. Big, get an easel and a poster board out there and.
Sandwich board with some.
The sandwich board. The sandwich board.
Yeah, bring out the sandwich board.
Just get rid of that.
I'm actually
previous
serious.
message.
All the allowed signs are now, we need an associate member. We'll just make a bunch of different styles. There you go.
Yeah.
I could do
We're
that in my
selling two
slides.
things at once.
I mean, it's not a bad idea to have some sort of a sign at town meetings saying planning board is And, you know.
Well, they could do like all the vacant positions, because I think.
Yeah, just like a general announce would be good,
That'd
actually.
be a great.
Who else has got an associate member? Was it Concom or ZBA?
CBA, they'll have a couple people. But there's other boards and committees and, you
Okay.
know. I
That
mean-
have vacancies, so.
Yeah, maybe
Okay.
we can,
Yeah, there's still vacancies, yeah, because like ZBA still needs associate.
maybe we can get a slide done for that, for the town meeting.
Yeah, I'll talk to Justin.
Talk to
through
Justin,
him,
yeah.
you know, his office, you know.
Yep.
I think it'd be kind of.
So, say hopefully we'll get something out of that, but if we don't, then you were gonna put an ad out.
We'll push it out to Facebook
Yeah.
and.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we can send something to the schools as well.
Okay. Sounds good. Town planner updates.
So I'll be brief.
Promise?
Yes.
Yeah, we got a
promise.
Celtics game to go to. I mean,
Okay. Sure.
You don't want to see the Celtics game right now.
Oh, jeez. Oh, boy.
well,
That's a,
Gary.
Take your time.
all right. So the
Spoiler alert.
hydrogeologist is collecting the groundwater data. I think most likely, at this point, we'll probably do a follow presentation in September.
Okay.
No word on the earmark at this point, but we'll do a presentation on that, like I said.
Is there fear that we won't get an accurate level considering the rainfall that we had this year?
Well, we've got a pretty accurate level.
Okay.
It's pretty high.
Yeah, okay, that's not good.
Yeah. Certainly, yeah. Yeah, so it's definitely gonna be a high number. Presuming,
Right.
I'll see. But, in terms of Southwood, the target is to do a presentation at your June meeting. However, still fact checking, if you will, or verifying some of the cost and revenue numbers that go into the model for the different scenarios. If we're not able to get those, and I feel like we probably won't by June, I think we'll just pause and do it in September. Again, that's on our time frame, you know, so there's not a rush. But I just wanted to let it, you know, because we want to make sure we've got good numbers going into those models.
Yeah, that's a special site. We gotta treat it with care.
Right, so,
Maybe one that would yield 750 units?
I like it.
yeah.
Just a corner of that property could do it.
Yeah, going to that property. So, in terms of other updates, just quickly, I'm gonna be looking at drafting a bylaw that would address the setback issues with,
Corner lots and sheds.
it'd actually be everything in terms of accessory structures, sheds, and also some homes that are in existence that, you know, were created before the larger lot requirements, for someone to be able to go to the Board of Appeals through a special permit process. So you couldn't get, the special permit would just be dealing with setbacks. So it's not like if you have you know, you couldn't get a special permit for a smaller lot, okay? So I've been kicking around that idea. I mentioned to the ZBA, because they have, which would allow corner lots, would obviously help with corner lots, but also help with some people have come before the ZBA seeking a variance when if there was another vehicle they could add on to their house or, you know, so forth for consideration. Hopefully, maybe it's something we could think about for the fall. It might not, we might start the discussion in the fall, go to the spring, but to give people a vehicle, so.
Are you thinking like ADUs instead of building onto a house, or is it not?
No, this is just strictly setback.
Just
So like if you
setback.
had a non-conforming, well, excuse me, if you had a situation where you wanted to do a shed and you wanted to be closer to the front, you could do it, which is 2 front yards.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can go through a special permit process instead of having to maintain 50. Maybe you come down, depends on the situation. Maybe it's 20 feet. You know, maybe it's down to 25. Maybe it's 10. On the, you know, it depends where it is. But also situations where we have some of the lots that are on the lakes where we have someone who wants to put an addition on their house and they end up needing a variance.
Too close to the lot line kind of a thing?
Yeah, the lot line, that they can't meet the 25 feet. To give them another option to be able to go for a special permit. So that's the thing.
Any other things so is there anything on the radar for the fall meeting as far as bylaws, changes for?
Well, I just was looking at the parking bylaw and I see that we need to make a change because actually the planning board is the one that deals with parking space reductions now.
Okay.
And so I want to go into I'm sorry, not F.
Right. So we're gonna need, well, that's fine, we're gonna need to start that discussion then next meeting.
Yeah.
To start getting ready for,
Yes.
to get, yeah, that's why I was asking the question. Is 'cause
Yeah.
we're gonna need to start
I
getting.
think dare I say, that shouldn't be too big of a lift.
Yeah, well, we'll
because
need to
it's just
get all
swapping out ZBA for planning board.
The sooner we can get the revisions done, get
Yeah.
it to select,
Yep.
and if they choose to send it to advisory to review, then the better.
Yep.
Okay.
There is something that may or may not come up, which would be an extension of the sign bylaws. So Todd over at Ann's Market really wants to be able to have those, like the flags.
Yeah, the banner signs or whatever they're called.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what they're called, but Kate O'Brien is going to reach out to him and talk to him about that and see, because he asked if he could do a citizen petition, which I didn't know anything about, so I asked her, and she said, yeah, he can absolutely do that. And I said, well, the first thing that we'll need is data from people saying that they do want this in town, you know? That would be really helpful. So she was going to reach out to him directly, and that's really what it's about, is just being able to have signs for the position that he's in that isn't the most convenient location and not really visible. So maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure yet, but every time I go in to get anything at Ann's Market, we talk about signs, and so I think it sounds like he really, really needs those. So hopefully he will connect with Kate, and then it'll come back to us. But that's the only thing that I know.
Grubhub?
I haven't used it yet. I'm a DoorDash person.
Is he on DoorDash?
No.
No, I was just kidding. Yes. You wouldn't have to talk about signs. You can still get the food. I'm only kidding. Yeah, so that's,
So is that for this next town meeting?
that would be November.
Well, citizens petition can be whenever.
Yeah, it can be whenever. It's just that the amount of citizens need to be higher, I think, I don't know.
One meeting, it's like 10, and the other meeting is like 50.
Yeah, I think, the fall is definitely a higher number of signatures than the spring.
The fall is a higher one?
Yeah.
Because isn't that the time frame that advisory wants us to bring forward bylaw changes? I thought
Well, for
fall-
citizen,
What do you think?
no. For citizen petition, it's higher in the fall.
Oh, okay.
That's,
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought
I
it
don't
was
know.
more than a 50 too. I thought it was,
There's definitely a different limit, I don't know.
there's definitely.
There's different limits, but anyway, so he's looking into it.
He is, and
Yep.
hopefully this one will go through, and then we can build
Yep.
from there.
So there's, I guess, room for some sign bylaw changes. If this gets passed, maybe there's a few more tweaks at
Yeah.
the next meeting.
Incremental, yeah.
It's all a process.
We won't stop till we have wacky, wavy, inflatable arm guys.
Oh my God, that would be crazy. Everywhere.
Well, he was in town. Did you see him?
Wacky, wavy, inflatable arm guy?
On Union
Yeah.
Street?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on Union Street.
Yep.
No, I didn't see it. Okay. I think anything else, Rich?
No, that's it for this evening.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote. Gary?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Eric?
All right.
Chair votes aye. We are adjourned.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.